Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, and finally here is the long-awaited Criminology Q A video. A couple of months ago now I posted a video asking for you to send in questions for me to answer about studying criminology. Just over a year ago I posted a video called Studying Criminology where, as the title says, I basically just spoke about what it was like studying criminology, as at that time I was still at uni. I'm no longer at uni now as I graduated last year. On that video I was getting a lot of questions, so I just thought, why not do a separate video where I answer people's questions about studying criminology. Some of the questions were ones that were asked multiple times, so rather than replying in the comments with the same answer, I'll just make a video. I do have quite a fair few questions, so I'm not 100% sure how long this video might take. So what I am intending to do, and fingers crossed it works, I haven't tried it before, is in the description I will write a list of all the questions that I answer, and I will put next to it the timings of where they are in the video, so you can look for whatever specific question you want and hopefully it will take you to that part of the video. If not, I'll put the timings and you can just click on it yourself. So without further ado, let's get started. Well, the course that I did was 3 years and that was full-time. However, there is the option to do it part-time, which takes 6 years. I think the majority of criminology courses are 3 years unless you do it part-time, so if you're not sure, check with the individual university. I did Google this just for a generic list, and prospectus.com or .co.uk, I don't know, I'll put a link in the description. They have suggested community development worker, police officer, prison officer, probation officer, social worker, youth worker, adult guidance worker, charity officer, housing manager / officer, local government officer, social researcher and solicitor. I personally have a little bit of a thing about this, just in the fact that I feel like those suggestions are very basic. Not that the jobs are basic, not that at all, it's just that their suggestions are very basic. I think with a criminology degree there is a lot more jobs and opportunities and careers out there than simply just that list. Just for an example, it says police officer. However, on the flip side of that, there's police staff, and there are thousands and thousands of police staff out there with all sorts of varied roles. So just a few more examples of what you could potentially do with a criminology degree. Some of these are probably a little bit more, not an average job, but it's just an example. So you could be a researcher, an analyst, a lecturer. You could potentially work for MI5, MI6, National Crime Agency. There's also the CPS. I know when I say MI5, MI6 is a bit like, whoa, that's a little bit James Bondy. That's just an example of the things that are out there that you could aim for. They are a career. Yes, they seem to be a bit like high flying, but those jobs exist. This is something that I found when I was looking for jobs myself, is that the trick is to think outside the box. So as I said with that list, it's quite restrictive. They're very in the box, whereas it's good to think outside the box. Think of any aspect of crime. You're very likely to find a job for that out there. Only yesterday I saw the National Crime Agency tweeted that they're recruiting at the moment, so I clicked on the link and there is a whole load of different jobs on there and they're very varied. So I'll leave a link in the description if you want to look at that. For the job that I have, I didn't actually know it existed at all until I was looking for jobs, looking at job advert websites, and I saw it came up and I thought, oh, that looks really interesting, it's linked to my degree. I would suggest that it is really good to look at local police force websites, look at crime agencies, organisations, those kind of things, and you'll be quite surprised as to what is out there. I don't really know if that fully answered the question correctly, but I'm just trying to say there's a wide variety of jobs out there that you don't necessarily know exist. It's just finding them, researching them, Firstly, I'll tackle your question of thinking of doing forensics but unsure. There's been quite a few questions of people saying they don't know whether to do criminology, they don't know whether to do forensics. Basically, criminology is studying and examining why crime happens, the causes of crime, who commits the crimes, how we punish the people who commit the crimes, how we prevent crimes, social justice, all those kind of things. And criminology brings in different disciplines, so like sociology, it will bring in psychology, archaeology, forensics, anthropology, all different kind of subjects. And criminology largely focuses around theories and research and analysis, things like that. For forensics, I must admit I'm not 100% sure what a forensics degree involves, but I have written down that forensic science provides the methods for solving crime, and it uses chemistry and biology, and it focuses on the collection of evidence. I presume, like, you know, with a crime scene you'll be taking like blood samples, maybe DNA samples. Again, I'm not really 100% sure. I can't speak about what a forensics degree involves, seeing as I haven't really done one myself, so you can always just look into that anyway. But I would say that forensics is a lot more actual science based, whereas criminology is a social science. They can be very different in a way, however at the same time they are slightly linked together and they will rely on each other in different aspects. However, if you're really stuck and you can't choose between one and the other, there is the option to do a combined course if you wish. And the second part of your question, you've picked the A-levels geography, biology and psychology, which is why you're thinking degree. Doing geography, biology and psychology are quite a good mixture and would do you well for either a criminology degree or a forensics degree. So if you chose to do a criminology degree, I would say doing a sociology A-level would be good, as there's a fair bit of sociology is linked to criminology. If you want to do a forensics degree, then it seems like chemistry would be beneficial in that respect. Good luck with your A-levels, hopefully I've answered that alright for you. I've just answered the forensics bit for you, hopefully that might help a little bit. Criminology is looking at crime in society, why crime happens, as I said earlier, whereas psychology is much more looking at the mind and human behaviours, thoughts, personalities, things like that. Again, I'm not an expert on psychology, so please look into that in a bit more detail rather than just taking it from me. Psychology doesn't simply just focus on crime. You would be looking at the human mind in general, not just necessarily a complete focus on crime. There's no doubt that crime will be like an aspect of psychology, but a psychology degree will not entirely focus on crime, which is what criminology does. Criminology, yeah, there are different aspects of the subject, but crime is the main focus. If you want to study crime, do criminology. If you want to study the human mind, do psychology. However, there is a forensic psychology degree which puts psychology into a criminal context. You could do forensic psychology if you want to combine psychology with criminology. However, on the other hand, you could just do like a plain psychology degree and do a combined course with criminology. But again, I would say look into it and look into the differences between psychology and criminology, as I am no expert, I must admit. Another part of your question was about working for the FBI, and to be completely honest, I really don't know much about the FBI at all, as I'm from the UK. I might know it from a film or something, but it's not the same. I have looked into it a little bit, and if you do a psychology or criminology or even forensics degree, it does look like that would give you good opportunities for jobs with the FBI, and it looks like they do different pathways and things like that, so you could always look into that. I'm not completely sure how you mean being a prosecutor. I don't know if you mean like CPS, so Crown Prosecution Service, if there's like office staff, or if you mean like a barrister or a lawyer. If you mean like CPS office staff, then definitely criminology would be a good background for that. However, if you mean like a barrister or a lawyer, I would say having a criminology degree makes that a lot more difficult to achieve that. I only say it's a lot more difficult And again, I'm no expert in this, but if you do a criminology degree and you wish to become a lawyer or a prosecutor, then you have to do a conversion course, as obviously you don't have the legal background, the legal knowledge as you would get with a law degree. And I have done a little research on this. According to the UCAS website and the National Career Service, to be a qualified solicitor or barrister, you must have completed your legal practice course or the bar professional training course and a 2-year training contract or a 12-month pupillage. So that is a lot of work. As I have not done law myself, I don't know how much I can comment on the training and the different courses and qualifications that you need to have to be a barrister or a lawyer or prosecutor, but I would just simply say that it can be a lot more work with a criminology degree than if you have a law degree, as a law degree will give you the legal knowledge, the legal understanding, the legal background, everything to be working within law. Criminology is looking at why crime happens, all the social side of crime. Law is completely different in the way that you look at the laws that surround crime. A law degree, whether you're in the UK or anywhere else in the world, will look at the laws that govern crime. So I guess how we sentence offenders, what constitutes a crime, whereas criminology looks at the theories and it looks at why do people commit these crimes, whereas law is looking at that crime and basically putting it into practice. If you wish to become a lawyer, definitely consider doing a law degree above doing a criminology degree, just simply because it gives you the most beneficial background, understanding, expertise, practical experience, I don't know, of law that criminology cannot give you. So it's weighing up, would you rather study the social phenomenon of crime, still can't say that word, or would you rather study this is the law of crime? And obviously doing a law degree, you would be studying other aspects of law, not necessarily completely crime. Genuinely, when I was at school and college, I thought, yep, I'm going to do law. However, it wasn't till I looked into it that I thought, actually, no, I much prefer the look of criminology, just simply because how it looks at crime. So I've been there, I've suffered that struggle. I think that's amazing. If you're 16 and you know that you want to be a human rights lawyer, then go for it. And as I said with the previous question, if you want to be a lawyer, then do a law degree. That seems like it'd be so beneficial if you want to be a human rights lawyer, as that would give you the perfect background and knowledge to be able to be a human rights lawyer, as a criminology degree I doubt would be able to give you that at all. Although in criminology, yes, you would look at cases that involve human rights, it doesn't give you the same knowledge that a law degree could give you. And as you say, you're very interested in crime. I would no doubt believe that if you do a law degree, you do look at criminal cases that involve human rights issues. I would expect there's opportunities to look into cases and crimes. I don't think you would be deprived of that if you do a law degree. Just from personal experience and thinking about the issues of conversion courses and things like that in the future, definitely do a law degree. Good luck if you become a human rights lawyer. I think that's an amazing thing to do. When I saw this question, I thought, I'm not 100% sure what you mean there, as I think majoring and minoring is an American thing which we don't have in the UK. I've heard of like major degrees or whatever. It's nothing that I know a whole lot about, so I did look into it. Please correct me if I'm wrong. You do a major undergraduate degree as like your main subject. On the side of that you have a minor subject which you also work on. I don't know, I could be completely wrong there. In the UK, we only do one undergraduate degree. We only do one subject. You could do a combined course. That's probably still not similar to majoring and minoring. It might be, I don't know. We only focus on one undergraduate degree and that's it. I think that sounds very interesting, that you can do like a criminal and social justice certificate and then do a bachelor's in criminology. That sounds really cool, so good luck with that. Your question is working your way up to be a detective or doing a master's. I know that in the UK there are pathways that if you have a bachelor's degree you can then do a pathway to be a detective, so you do training, exams on the job, or you can work your way up being a police officer and go through the ranks to be a detective. A master's, it's not necessarily beneficial to be able to do that, but obviously a master's also gives you a lot more knowledge in that kind of area. Apart from doing a pathway or being a police officer, I'm not 100% sure of how you can work your way up to be a detective. There's no doubt ways that you can do it. I personally have not looked into it, but I think having a criminology degree is a fairly good start. There's nothing wrong with that. The only thing that I would say regarding a detective job is that it's a role that involves a lot of training, a lot of knowledge, a lot of expertise, and just a lot of background experience, just to give you, again, the experience which is good for that role. It's maybe a job that is the peak of somebody's career, that they've worked a long time for, worked up through the ranks. I'm not trying to say it in like a really rude way, it's just a role that needs a lot of experience behind it, that's all. Of course you can do pathways and things like that, and there's nothing wrong with getting a master's. I wish you the best of luck. Firstly, it's just one dissertation, which is usually in your final year of university. I'm afraid to say it, but you are given other assignments to do alongside the dissertation. The dissertation is the main focus. I started mine towards the end of the second year, worked on it a bit over the summer, and then carried on the whole way through third year of university. So it does take up a significant amount of time, no doubt about it. What I found at my uni with the course that I did was at the beginning of the third year they kind of gave us like a basic outline of when you should get each section of the dissertation done by, get your introduction or something done by November, methodology done by January. When you're given other assignments alongside that, you can balance it out. Just as an example, you're working on one section of your dissertation, but you have an essay due in 2 weeks' time. What you would do is think, okay, this essay kind of has to take a bit of priority because it's due in soon, so I need to get that done. You would focus on the essay, potentially do a little bit of work on the dissertation at the side, but once that essay is done and handed in, you can get back onto your dissertation until the next potential assignment comes along. So it's definitely a balancing act. I think you can work out what needs to take priority, what needs a lot of work done on. Yes, a dissertation is the main focus, but you can balance it out. I can only speak from the course that I did, as it could be different in other universities, but the majority of work that I did for my criminology degree was essays, and I think I've spoke a little bit about this in my previous video. And it's highly likely that when you're at university you've written an essay before in your life, so you kind of know what it's like to write an essay. It is slightly different as it's a much higher academic level. Just from personal experience, how I studied for an essay was a whole lot of research, reading books, journals, newspapers, credible websites, and that is mainly just to get background information, get quotes to back up your answers, get theories, and I would make sure that my essay has got a structure that makes sure it answers the question, and for each section I would just put in all the information and quotes that are relevant, so by the end of it you conclude it to answer the essay question. I don't think any of that made any sense. One thing I would say is vital when studying for a criminology degree, and that's not necessarily just for writing essays, but the degree as a whole, is that you definitely need to read broadly. Reading broadly means that you have a good understanding, a good background knowledge of the subject as a whole. You're not just restricting yourself to a few readings or a few pieces of information, you're reading just very widely. It also means that you can add a lot more detail, different arguments, different contexts into your assignments. Second assignment that I mainly got were presentations, and those involved either a video presentation, which is quite similar to making a YouTube video, group presentations or individual presentations. Initially I would treat them very much similar to an essay. Once I had the presentation question, I would research it, write it up as I would an essay, and I would turn that essay into my script. I might word it a bit differently just so it flowed a bit better in conversation, and I'd make PowerPoints. Presentations have a slightly different type of pressure, as in you have to speak either in front of your class, so a big group of people, few people, or just one person. Another quite large-ish aspect of a criminology degree is exams. At the end of every year at uni I did have exams, whether that was 1 or 2 exams. At my uni, and they might do this completely differently elsewhere, but we were given scene questions. It was a scene exam, so we were given the questions, I would say 3 weeks to a month before the exam. And again, initially I would treat this exam question as I would an average essay assignment. Again, the research, the structure, the writing up. However, with the studying and revision regarding this, by the time you're at university, there's no doubt you have done many exams before. You might not have done, and that's okay, but it's likely that you have. You will probably know your revision and study style by this point. And for exams, and this is something I did when I was at school, if I knew the question prior to the exam, I would write it up like an essay and just write it again and again and again, whether I'm writing up by hand, writing it on a computer, making cue cards, recording it onto my phone so I could hear it back, just anything. With revision and studying, it's something that everybody does differently. You might think the way that I study or revise is completely weird, but the way that you might revise I might find quite difficult. So I think it can be hard for me to sit here and say this is how you revise for a degree, this is how you study for a degree, because everyone does it so differently. But those are just a few pointers, I guess, for how I revise or how I study. I have also done a video about writing a dissertation, so I'll leave that linked down in the description, and I think within that video I talk about how I worked for a dissertation, so that might answer those questions. I'm not quite sure at the moment. I have been considering a master's, but the only thing is that I know I want to do a master's degree in something very specific. I wouldn't just do a plain criminology degree. I know I would do something specific just simply because it might be linked to a career or a job that I want to do. It's something that I'm really interested and passionate about, so at the moment I'm not really sure. So my favourite theory, and I have a few, is probably some of the feminist theories, some of the gender theories, victimology theories. I also quite like the idea of labelling and the self-fulfilling prophecy. That's quite interesting. However, at the same time I do quite like some of the more sociology theories, like subculture theories, so looking at lower classes, young people, deviants, subcultures. And the second part of the question is about broken windows. Is there anything to it? So broken windows was something, I haven't done this for a very long time, nearly 3 years now. So broken windows was something about putting a car in a rich area of America and a poor area of America, smashing it up so it's a bit of a wreck, and seeing how long it takes for more crime to happen to that car. And in the poor area, crime or disorder happened more quickly, whereas in the rich area it was left for a week or two and nothing much had really happened to it. So broken windows looks at disorder in communities, and if that disorder then leads to further more serious crimes. And I think something about zero tolerance policing, so having more community policing within those communities, and that policing would prevent and focus on stopping those everyday disorders before they reach to the more serious crimes. I did have to look it up, excuse me if I am wrong. If I think there is anything to that, I would say that in the UK we don't have community policing quite the same as it once was. We have PCSOs, but we don't really have the Bobby on the beat anymore due to cuts and things like that. So community policing maybe isn't quite the same, which means that there's not those police officers in the communities stopping the disorder before it gets more serious. I don't know how it is in other areas of the world, like in America. To be honest, I might have got that completely wrong anyway. And finally, why do people not care or pay attention to criminology? I don't really know. I'm open to other responses in the comments, but I wondered if it's because some of the theories are very old, like for example Lombroso, positivism. That's a very old theory, like possibly outdated theory. Because crime is constantly changing, maybe we can't apply some of those theories anymore. To be perfectly honest, I don't really know why people might not care or pay attention to it, so please leave suggestions in the comments. Good news, you do not need any specific A-levels to do criminology. As long as you've got the right UCAS points or the grades that the university have offered you or that they require, then that is all you need. You don't need anything specific. It might be different in different universities, different countries, I don't know, but as long as you've got the right UCAS points or grades, then it's fine. One thing I would say is that it can be beneficial but not necessary at all to do an essay-based subject, just simply because it gives you a little bit of essay skills when doing a criminology degree, but again, it's not essential. I personally studied law, English language and Latin, which is a bit of a mixture, but to be honest they all come in quite handy with criminology, so that's good, but again, you don't need anything specific at all. I did see that someone did respond to this question and said yes, because you need it for a lot of statistics and stuff, but I was actually going to say it's not particularly essential, just in my opinion, and to be honest I'm pretty horrendous at maths myself. The only aspect that maths comes into criminology is with statistics. Yes, it does. However, when I was doing my dissertation that was using statistics, I used a computer system to do that for me, which I spoke about in my dissertation video. It doesn't matter if you're bad at maths, because there are systems out there that can do it for you, or if you're doing research you can do qualitative analysis, which looks at words and language rather than numbers. So yes, maths does come into criminology, but it's not the be all and the end all of it. Yes, there are statistics, but there are computer systems that can do things for you, and if I can do it, anybody can do it. Don't get yourself too caught up in it. It's nothing major at all, so don't worry too much. I'm not going to say the exact job that I do simply because of what it is, but I do have a job and it is partially linked to my degree. However, you don't need a degree to do the job, and that's simply because I know people might look at this and think, oh, that's a bit pointless, why do a degree and then not get a degree job? But it's only because, yes, I do have a criminology degree, however I've been sat in a classroom for 17 years, and a lot of the degree level jobs out there, well not a lot, but a fair few of degree level jobs out there need a significant amount of experience, so practical experience alongside having a degree, which obviously I don't have. So I'm starting low down to work my way up, gain experience, gain knowledge, just be within the field, potentially do a master's, I don't know. And to be completely honest, I still don't really know what job it is that I'm looking for. I just don't know, and I think at the age of 22 that's completely fine to not know that, because who has their whole life planned out ahead of them? If you do, good for you, because I really don't. I don't know what I'm doing, but you don't know what's around the corner. Like the job that I do have now, I didn't know it existed, so you don't know what's out there. As someone did also ask, what job are you interested in with this course, but I'm not really sure. I do quite like research or intelligence. I'm just sticking with the job I've got for now, looking what might come up, seeing where life takes me. I can see that my camera is very soon going to die as it's got very little battery left, so thankfully that is all the questions that I have for today. I'm really hoping that I've answered them well enough and to an okay standard. If you have asked a question and you don't think I've answered it enough, please just leave another comment and I'll try and write something and hopefully explain something a bit better. But as I did say throughout the video, I'm not an expert in anything. I'm not a careers advisor. I don't have a huge amount of knowledge, so this is only spoken from experience. But hopefully you can take away something decent from this video. Thank you very much for watching and goodbye.